A night in with Mauler and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, plus they'll say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line before the Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
Hello. Okay, so full disclosure, everyone. I didn't actually mean to click on that intro.
I was going to say, wait, what is happening? We're not live, are we?
Yeah, surprise. Actually, though, in retrospect, it's a lot more interesting than the standard countdowny thing, so I don't mind that. I can just go with it because this kind of technically is still open bar. It's just like the addendum to it.
Yeah.
So that's all right. Well, welcome everyone to like this extremely truncated, pre-recorded version of Open Bar that you're seeing now with just me and Mauler, also known as Last Orders. As always, we had a great old time on the previous one, Open Bar number 101, and we got some super chats that we need to be getting through so we can answer your questions. So I say we just dive right into it.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
All right. Mustard Skaven says, the Force is female, but in all of their works, the male characters usually end up being the most liked characters of all. It's funny that, isn't it?
All the robots.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just, you know, what they think is deplorable personality traits or whatever actually ends up being kind of awesome. And perhaps they end up hiring a good actor to play the character as well. Maybe it tells you something about how well connected these writers are to their audiences. Either way, Tubby says Zillow Beast Armor is another thing that is impervious to saber strikes. I'll say go with it then.
All right.
Fiesta Cat says, I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't find an affordable way to mass produce lightsaber-proof armor. I mean, they've got space travel. Yeah, I think at times like that, you just have to accept that like certain materials and stuff can't be synthesized or replicated. They're just super rare, okay? You just have to...
There's certain things... You know, something interesting I thought was a comparison. The kamikaze effect that Holdo does in Thingy is like, everyone brings up, you can't just do that because that's going to fuck up a whole bunch of things. But meanwhile, if you have a show like Star Trek, and over the years, a revolutionary piece of tech is developed by the other team, and it's used in a very covert and special, you know, smaller area of a fight, and it's a little bit unstable or untested. Like, that's a way better way to introduce that sort of thing. It's and then gradually over time, they have to figure out a way to counter it. So that kind of comes up in Undiscovered Country, right? Like the experimentation. And so, like, there are always ways to do all of this stuff. If someone says, I want Cortosis in my show, and you go, why? Like, because I want to have the cool payoff of him batting these shit, and it, like, turns lightsabers off. You just sort of sit there being like, well, is that worth that? Do you need that for that? Do you want to upend, like, everyone's investment and knowledge on how these systems work? So many casual fans, and then several invested ones, just like, wait, what?
Well, you know, you then have to fix it with some future project where it's like, we've implemented the new Cortosis filters on our lightsabers to prevent them from being shorted out in future. Like, there can always be some counter to it, to the rock, paper, scissors dynamic of all this stuff. But like you say, it's a question of, one, is it worth creating all that havoc just for this one cool shot of someone headbutting a lightsaber? And two, you know, can you implement a lot of these like world-changing pieces of tech in short order and not have it just break the fictional universe?
Yeah,
you know, as you say, within something like Star Trek, if you're going to do things like that, there potentially have wide-ranging consequences. Do it gradually and let the audience come to terms with it, and then have a suitable counter for it so that you can account for it in future stories. That's
and acknowledgement in universe, right? They'd be like, "But Mr. Spock, that's not possible."
Yeah,
it would appear, Captain.
Yeah, well, it is. It happened anyway. Jesus Davila gave us beer super chat, so thanks, man. David Gannon. I had a retail co-worker go to the stockroom to get something. Then she was on the other side of the counter in different clothes and didn't look right. No idea she had a twin, but it was obvious. Well, okay.
Crazy.
The whole twin issue, yeah. Did you ever know any identical twins? Excuse me.
I think so, yeah.
I did in high school. Two brothers, and yeah, they did look completely identical. And for some reason, they styled their hair the same way and everything. So it became easier to tell them apart as they got older. I think one like gained a bit of weight when the other didn't, so they started to look more apart there. But yeah, they had pretty much the same personality as well. It was a bit uncanny. Didn't like it. I'm still not convinced they weren't aliens or robots or something.
Yeah, naturally.
Bootio says, I don't know how many stomachs Jecky's species have, but I'm glad Smilo Ren didn't take any chances. Yeah, I also didn't know your stomach could be in your upper chest area, but who knows?
Well, if you have 4 of them, one of them might be up there.
It could be, yeah. But yeah, I like how he's just like, nope, I've seen people walk away from lightsabers too many times in these shows. You're getting 3. Jason Knight says, please review the anti-woke game The Great Rebellion on the gaming channel. I mean, there's so many games I could review. Wouldn't you rather I just reviewed something fun? Like,
maybe that one is fun.
It could be, yeah. I mean, I owe everyone a review of Stellar Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't reviewed that, so that's probably my next one on my agenda. Gay Carpenter says, just opened the stream, wanted to say cheers to the rise of Snarky J. There is hope for the next generation of fandom. There is indeed. It's nice to see new channels coming up, new content creators finding their way. And yeah, damn, man, her channel's blown up recently. I think she's gained another 5,000-6,000 subscribers just since Open Bar.
Wow.
So she is doing well. Lost77 says, I just realized I'm putting more thought into a joke one-shot D&D character than professional writers did into making The Acolyte. $180 million. What? It's it's still baffling, isn't it? Like, if you were doing a show and you had $180 million resting on it, I could only imagine the amount of time and work you would put into that script. Like, it would be the tightest thing you could possibly produce.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like they just came up with their ideas, like scrawled on a piece of paper one day after being in the pub, and like they just ran with it. Like, that'll do. It's incredible. Scott AG says, for Drinker Does Gaming or The Critical Gamer, could you please play the Mass Effect trilogy? Gripping story, insanely vivid and engaging characters, mostly your squad mates. Respect from a fellow Fifer. Nice. Thanks, Scott. And yeah, are they remastering the Mass Effect trilogy? Am I correct in that?
I'm not the person to ask, but I think so. I want to say yes.
Because it's probably a good opportunity to do it then, rather than, digging out my old copy of it. But if they do and they bring it out, I will stream it and then review it. How does that sound?
Beautiful.
John Gates. Chris Stuckman rewriting this show equals tell that to Yord's snap neck. Also, I would love the show if Disney goes full troll and everyone gets up with only minor burns, including the decapitated ones, and Saul throws mate in a slave Leia bikini. I think we'd all appreciate that, really, but yeah, I honestly wouldn't.
For the story, of course.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if some of them survive this somehow. Or Jackie comes back, somehow she returned. Mustard Skaven says, getting through episodes, the power of one drink, the power of 2 drinks, the power of many. That's the best way to do it, I always find.
Hell yeah.
Larry Escher says, Snarky J rocks. Indeed she does. Cam Dominus Rex said, should Fat Jedi have showed up and saved the day? I think so.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
I feel like he could tank a lot of lightsaber hits just for sheer mass, I suppose. Aruki Fire says, Drinker, watching Star Wars now is like seeing your ex that broke your heart years later, realizing what a bullet you dodged and what an ugly lesbian space witch she became. At a certain point, you just have to kind of make that emotional break from it. And you'll feel a lot better when you do. Once you just accept they're not going to really make anything good. going forwards. It's better to just enjoy the older stuff, and you've got that whole, that whole universe of expanded EU stuff. All the books, all the comics, all the games. Go back and enjoy them.
Yeah.
There's probably enough content there to keep you amused for years. Cole Hauser says, Mower, thank you for Smiling Friends. So good, insane, and twisted. Alan and Glebs are my favorite. Drinker, congrats on your success. Thank you.
Still getting Drinker to watch it eventually.
Yeah, we watched 1 or 2 episodes. I'm definitely up for watching more with you. Lost says, hear me out. Star Wars by Michael Bay. Weirdly, I would fucking watch that film. I honestly think it would be more entertaining than anything we've had from Disney.
I'd certainly give it a shot.
Purple Thighs says, what would you say to Obi-Wan keeping up with Maul?
Keeping up?
Yeah. I don't know what he means. You mean like him again?
They're saying how come he was like able to do well? So he's a Padawan at that point, and so it's like how come it's okay for him to do well against him, but it's not for Jackie to do well against Smiler Ren? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a fair conversation that was happening around. So let's look at what we're dealing with here. Obi-Wan is on the verge of being a knight. He may as well be a knight. In fact, it was what he did there that got him the knighthood, right? Like the defeating a Sith. I think Darth Maul counts as a Sith Lord. He was very well trained. He trained, as far as I'm aware, lore-wise, since he was super young. He's been going for a while. And Qui-Gon, I think, even said that it's time he became a knight in that movie. Like he's almost overdue. He loses to Maul, by the way. He only gets him on a what you could call a tricky move, right? Like he jumps over him, and Maul's like, "Wait, what the fuck?" But in the standard fight, Maul does beat him. And then, of course, you have Maul took on 2 people. Maybe he's Obi-Wan had like if it had been those 2 fighting each other from the beginning, Maul might have dominated him. So I think a lot of it plays in. Meanwhile, Jackie just watching so many knights go down, 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 and then she stands up to him for longer than anyone, even Master Soul. It's kind of just it's very dissatisfying with the knowledge we have of Jackie, being the last time we saw her in relation to this was with a stick, training with other Padawans who were super young. You just sort of don't. You just don't buy it.
I think the age thing is a big issue because you can very much tell that Obi-Wan at that stage is much older and more experienced than she is, and so I can definitely buy more easily that he's able to hold his own at least against Maul, particularly when it's 2-on-1. And I think it might have been even more useful if, say, Qui-Gon had just tagged him a little bit. A bit of a lightsaber graze in his leg or something that might have just slowed him down ever so slightly.
Like I said, he does win their interaction. He underestimates Obi-Wan, but then he force pushes him off the edge.
Yeah. Anakin Stark says, "What other studios could be a better owner? Universal." So yeah, who could potentially buy over Lucasfilm? I mean, at this point, I'm kind of in the boat of saying like pretty much anyone except Disney.
So there's that, and then there's also just whoever buys it, just leave it alone, let it die. Buy it to protect it.
Just Elon Musk can buy it and just then sit on it, shut it all down. Andrew Fritz says they're going to try to force Smilo Ren to be a young Darth Plagueis, aren't they? Don't say it. It's a shame because people are pointing out that the actor did a reasonably good job. Like he is quite good in the role of like a kind of sneering Sith Lord. It's just a shame that he's trapped in such a shitty TV show. Yeah. Mike Smith says Amanda Stenberg used to be named Amanda, but she took an L by starring in The Acolyte. Oh yeah, I remember reading that out on the night. It's a good one. The Sumnay says Episode 6, Jackie comes back as a Force ghost and teaches Qui-Gon. I think that's fair. Chernabog, I'm in Europe this month, so instead of listening at 3, I can listen at 10 and actually have a drink with you. Why can't you have a drink at 3? Anytime. It's like the day is your bar.
Yeah, perfectly normal.
He says, also, I just discovered Snarky J today for the first time, so imagine my surprise coming on here and finding her. Well, there you go. Yeah, she's doing the rounds. I imagine you'll see her on other live streams pretty soon. Charge 41 says Star Wars Bounty Hunter remake August 1st at least. Is that happening?
Yes, it'll be released on Steam. I assume since it's Aspire, like they're probably gonna do a very simple remaster. Which, as long as it works, it's fine. People are worried because of the Battlefront 2 stuff, but I'm sure a lot of the Battlefront 2 frustrations were with how it functioned in its UI updates and online. But I'd have to check. So I'm hoping they don't fuck this up. Just it's an easy job. Just get it done. Make it work, and I'll stream it, and it'll be fun.
Fingers crossed. Larry says, made you look. Yes, you did. Well done. Nate says, Open Bar has never been this classy before. Snarky J should become a regular. Hail Open Bar, and the Acolyte sucks. Agreed. Patrick Mulligan says, Drinker, on PMU, Esther has been looking at you while wearing increasingly revealing clothing. Tatiana better watch out. Seriously, she's awesome. That's Piers Morgan. Yeah, Esther's a really good panelist. She's very entertaining to listen to. I'm sure she's got better things to do, though, than chase me around. Frozen Bill Killer says, I still think Smiler Ren is the Acolyte, and one of the mothers is, oh my god, I just started to feel slightly invested in what happens in this crap fest. I need to go find someone to punch me right now. Quick, someone punch him. Yeah, your enthusiasm will probably be killed off by the end of the show. Don't worry. 6 Turner and 4 Burnin says, all right, Snarky J, moving up into the big leagues. Met you at MegaCon a couple of years back. Keep up the good work. Subbed. Very cool. Yeah, like I say, she's certainly taken off. Tim Love says, congrats on 101 open bars. You guys keep me company on long night drives. I've learned so much from you about stories, etc. Could you talk about direction? What does bad direction look like versus good direction? I mean, I think that's an entire video, really, rather than just a quick conversation. But it's definitely something we could bring up on open bars where, you know, we spot a movie or whatever that we think is particularly well directed, irrespective of the script. Be a good thing to look at.
I will say that we don't spend as much time talking about it, and at least from my point of view, the reason is that I feel like writing is in some of the most like I would happily settle for poor direction in the sense of maybe cinematography that is flat or not dynamic, a camera that's not making use of almost setting a tone for how a scene can feel, even color grading or how something is edited together, match cuts, or particular zooms, particular lenses. A lot of these things I'd be much more invested in talking about in the sense of they must improve this and that if we manage to solve the problem of writing. But I'd say we're at a worse place than ever for writing, and that fundamentally, and this is really sad, a lot of other elements in filmmaking will have to be forced to suffer if the writing isn't there. The writing is like this old platform that everything stands on. So, not to say that there aren't badly written films that are still celebrated for their filmmaking. That's absolutely true. But I think it sucks that there are departments that can work their asses off, and then it doesn't matter because of how poorly written the thing was. Nobody cared.
I would just really like to get to that point where we've got both. We've got great writing and really good direction. That would be super.
Fuck yeah. And directing is such a catch-all term as well in a lot of ways. When the writing's really good, you would compliment the director somewhat, or at least you should, because they probably would have had a hand in directing the story.
Yeah, indeed. And you'd be surprised how much gets rewritten on the day when they're shooting, because the director's spotted a problem or something that's not going to work properly when they shoot it, and they have to fudge the script to make it work. So they have to have some of that skill as well. Darius White says, what if your dentist, car mechanic, or pick whatever profession says that she was a lesbian and was going to inject her queerness into all of her work? That's exactly what I'm looking for in sci-fi fantasy. Yeah. Well, as long as they don't inject it into my body, like if it's a doctor or something, I'm fine. Timmy04 says, what subjects did you guys hate the most at school? Ooh, question. Fucking hated maths. I mean, like, you're gonna have to work hard to make me enjoy that.
I hate it once it got past the basic stuff. Like I was having fun when it was the basic stuff, but then
like
they ruined
2 + 2 is 4. Like, yeah, this is awesome. I got it.
What was interesting with the sciences, I thought biology was fascinating. I really liked physics. I wasn't a fan of chemistry. I found it boring as fuck.
Yeah, chemistry seemed like it was going to be really exciting because it's like I get to blow stuff up and things, but then we never really got to do any of that.
Yeah, it's like, look, this changes color. And it's like, that's fine.
Whereas physics was the opposite, where it seemed like it was going to be just dry maths and calculations and that sort of thing. But then actually quite a lot of the time you got to play with electricity, fire, all kinds of fun stuff. So
yeah.
this has kind of lived up to the promise of chemistry.
Biology legit for me was just like, do you know how your digestive system even works? And I was like, not really. It's like, what is going on in there? And then they're like, this. And it's like, that's horrifying. Wow.
Oh my God, I'm a monster. But yeah, there's generally, this might surprise you, but I enjoyed most of my subjects at school. Like, I suppose I have a kind of naturally curious mindset, and so I'm usually quite receptive to learning stuff.
I was really bad with languages, so French and Welsh. Having to, like, I don't know what is my brain, but languages never stuck at all.
Yeah, I was never super enthusiastic about doing German, but yeah, I can at least order a beer when I'm in Germany, so that's something. Krister Mastad Sorsather says, "Man, I just hope somebody in Star Wars has the creative wits to plagiarize Shogun, but I doubt it." Yeah, don't hope for too much there. Jordan Pendragon says, "Blockbuster and chill." There you go. You got an old school 90s evening. Anakin Stark says, "Gen Z is a Marvel generation." That's a terrifying thought, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A generation defined by MCU movies.
My God.
Various crazy people says, "The critics that say, I like the lights. Imagine that our special needs kids at the library on pizza day." Yeah, I mean, that's it. If you're going to just go superficial as fuck with that, are you a critic even? Waddle These Nuts says, any of you see the latest RLM video on the Acolyte? I believe you've seen it, Muller.
Well, are we about to do the thing again of you're in luck, person? Because between this episode happening and this, this open bar last orders happening, we covered it with Gary and several others on EFAP.
Yeah.
So
go check it.
Yeah, the question's answered already.
So yeah, obviously they covered it in much more depth than Muller and I can do here. So yeah, go look up their coverage and you will get all the insight you could ever wish for.
You'll love it, I swear.
A bit more. Yeah. Sunbeam says, "Anyone else think Jar Jar looks tasty? His skin would crack a lot better than Pig. Watch Mr. In Between." That's a lot to unpack with that one. So Jar Jar Binks looks tasty. Would it get crackly? I suppose.
I don't know, maybe.
Can you eat Gungans? Are they edible?
Probably. Anything's really, if you try hard enough. I think that...
That's how open-minded you're willing to be. Human flesh? Well, yeah.
I guess it's interesting because he's the more time goes on, the more I legitimately want him back. And that would be my most anticipated challenge of writing, is to bring him back and to make people, once they complete the story, be like, man, I like Jar Jar Binks. Like, he's interesting.
I wanted Smilo Ren to be a Gungan. I wanted to take that helmet off and like the ears just slowly flop out of it.
Would have been good.
Just turn slowly towards the camera with his big goofy face. Yeah, I think you could have done a lot there. Mustard Skaven says, "The only reason I watch it less legally is to know what the YouTube channels I watch that shit on it are talking about, because their videos shitting on it are the entertainment and not the actual show." I think it's very true in a lot of cases, and you brought this up a couple of times on Open Bar, where it's like there's a passionate anti-fandom, not just towards the Acolyte, but I think just Disney Star Wars in general now, where it's become a pastime to just...
Well, yeah, and how long before it's a legitimate argument to say, actually, some people out there might want it to carry on as is because they enjoy, one, the fun of ripping it to shreds with friends, two, separating it entirely from what it actually is pretending to be, and the badder it is, the easier that becomes, and three, this is what people refer to as acceleration. The more exceedingly bad things that come out that we highlight, the more the idea is proliferated and celebrated, and that eventually something will be done. They just cannot maintain this forever. It's impossible. The arguments morph over time, and I find it interesting, but for me, it's fundamental. I always want to talk about writing, and I find bad examples are an amazing thing to really get an understanding from.
No, for sure. Like, it's always great to deconstruct something that's gone wrong so you can understand why it's wrong and then use it as a benchmark to improve. You know, it's an interesting little exercise. Cole Hauser says they let Kurtwood Smith improvise on RoboCop. Yeah, I mean the famous example I think that gets cited a lot is when he's been booked by RoboCop and brought into the police station, and he spits like blood all over the counter, and just goes, "Give me my goddamn phone call." That was kind of improvised between him and the director because they did so many takes and it just wasn't working. Like, what could we do to spice this scene up? And it's like, yeah, we'll just put a blood pack in his mouth and let him spit it all over the desk. And the other actors weren't told that it was going to happen, so their reactions were genuine, which is nice.
Bodika.
Yeah. Crooked says, Drinker and panel, one thing I'm happy about The Acolyte is that it legitimizes my position as a prequel defender. I know since Gary crossed on the Mayflower, it's hard for him to admit this, but they look incredible by comparison.
To what?
Well,
like the Acolyte, or
probably, yeah.
I mean, the thing about the prequels are famous for everybody trying to figure out whether or not they think they look like ass or that they have a style.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hold them up necessarily as like the most visually engaging. Certainly, there are scenes like, you know, the Obi-Wan versus Anakin fight, that sort of thing. But there's a lot of scenes of just people in rooms that you can just tell even they were green screened, and it just then looks so flat and it's very bland in a lot of cases. Like they've got these incredible, you know, hallways or gigantic buildings that they're walking through, but you know they're not there, and it's just, I don't know, the technology just wasn't right. Yeah, it wasn't quite there to make that happen. Plus some pretty stale direction in a lot of cases. So
yeah,
let's not romanticize them too much. I get that there's an opportunity to reassess them, but they weren't these misunderstood masterpieces or anything.
You just wait until the sequels come out, and then we'll be like, you know, the sequels, they're okay.
Yeah.
They're okay movies.
There'll be the obligatory round of, okay, hear me out, bro.
At least the sequels didn't have Luke on all fours vomiting all over himself naked, you know? And you're like, well, wow. our bar has gotten real low.
Skeleton Bro says, I'm not even 21 and I'm already starting to collect DVDs. I recently bought a DVD set that included the theatrical releases of the OG Star Wars movies. Disney isn't going to get my subscription money. Yeah, hang on to those, by the way. They're fucking gold dust. The theatrical releases. Shit, they're not even making them anymore. No, it's good stuff, man. Good going. Stick with your physical media. Ron M says, Godzilla -1 cost less than one episode of The Acolyte. The Acolyte may actually be a money laundering scheme, which would explain a lot. Would you?
I've seen people say that a lot. Don't you feel like it might be underestimating how stupid Disney are? Like, money laundering scheme as opposed to the just bleeding money every department because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I think it might be a combination of that and the model that they use in Hollywood really incentivizes you to bloat the budget because the producers, the showrunner in this case, they're all given a percentage of the production budget, and so the higher the budget is, the the more money your percentage equates to. So they're not really incentivized to have a tight, lean production, especially on studios which are generally quite happy to just fork out loads of money for content. Disney doesn't seem to give a shit, and so that creates a bit of a vicious combination or a vicious cycle where they just waste more and more money because they can line their pockets with it. Put it this way, I'm sure Leslie Headland came away from The Acolyte okay financially.
Yes.
So Potato says, hi guys, what's your opinion on Red Letter Media's video on The Acolyte? That's another one. See previous statement, I guess. Go and watch Mueller's coverage of it with Gary and a few other people.
What do you think, Drinker?
Well, what do I think of their video on The Acolyte?
Yeah.
Because I don't know your entire video coverage because it's like 3 hours long. But yes, if I had to sum up my position, I would say, as many people have on social media, it's a bit rich coming from the guys who made their entire channel, founded their entire channel on tearing apart bad media that they disliked, particularly of franchises that they used to care about, whether it may be Star Trek or Star Wars. That obviously meant a lot to them, to the point where they were willing to make multiple hour-long videos about it. So to then have the attitude all these years later of, if you don't like it, then just don't watch it, or why complain about it because there's starving children in Africa and that's more important. Well, it's a little bit of hypocrisy there. So don't think it's a great take on their part. Replicax says, Disney, the new Hallmark channel, it's heading there. Open the Mind says, 180 million budget. How much do you think got cut because it was so bad? Other things they stole from Smilo helmet from Predators, the witches from DC's Amazons, and the chant from Avatar and Netflix OA. So I do wonder how much was cut and how much was reshot, because this show was redone, wasn't it? It was finished like a couple of years ago, and then they had to reshoot parts of it and re-edit it.
As far as I know, yeah.
So, yeah, the mind boggles at what was in it before. Alex Jordan, old Star Wars. I've seen many battles, lost many soldiers, and fought great odds. New Star Wars. It's my first day. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Mo Zislak. Drinker, there's not enough overweight representation in the Acolyte. More fat Jedis. I mean, this is true, but then one fat Jedi is the equivalent of like several regular-sized Jedi, so they do get quite a bit of representation just by their sheer physical mass, I would
think
say.
of the midichlorians, man.
Yeah. Do you think they contain more midichlorians, or are the midichlorians just more spread out inside them? It's hard to know.
Hopefully they make a TV show all about that.
And then it begs the question, could you get super fat so you got loads of midichlorians in you and then quickly lose weight, like go on a crash diet as a Jedi, and they're like then concentrated more inside you, so you got super dense midichlorians?
Or if you get liposuction, is that like you have midichlorians in a bag?
Kind of, yeah.
And then if you hit someone with that, is that like hitting them with the Force?
I thought you were going to go down the road. Well, I thought you were going to go down the road of like if you inject it into them, so they'll become fat because you've injected them with liposuction fat. But then they've got midichlorians as well.
Well, so I think the idea would be that you package it in little bottles, and then in the middle of fights, if you need a midichlorian boost, you just swallow some fat, and boom, you got the power of 10 Jedi or something.
The fucking hideousness of like fat dribbling down their chin.
Oh, God. No, you said that. I didn't say that.
You were thinking it though.
No.
We've gone down a bad road.
You can't prove it.
Shaker Silver. Star Wars was always bad, even pervades red letter media. The worst they said on Acolyte is that it's dry and clunky and cared more to talk about fan rage. One has to note that up to episode 3, for those old men, Star Wars was just 2 out of 6 good movies. I mean, yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier, I suppose. Yeah, man, it's just...
I think so much Star Wars has come out. I don't even know they know exactly how they feel anymore. It's such a big mess. I don't even know if they remember what they've said. They were very positive about Mandalorian Season 1, about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think they thought Boba Fett was retarded, but they liked Andor a lot. You know what I mean? Like, this is quite a mixed bag for them in terms of a franchise.
Yeah.
Not so much for us.
No, it's been fairly clear-cut. Teutonic Knight says, Blood and Cheese was a little disappointing if you read the book. What's that a reference to?
That is the payoff at the end of the first episode of Season 2 of House of the Dragon.
Blood and Cheese.
Yes, that's the names of the 2 guys that go in and kill one of the kids.
Ah, I see.
In the book, there are 3. Egon and Helena have 3 children, a girl and 2 boys. And they find the 2 boys in the room, and they say to her that she has to pick which one's going to die. And it's a particularly harrowing moment. And she picks one. And I think we find out her thinking was she'll pick... I think she picked the eldest. I can't remember. The logic was in her head was something to do with trying to pick the one that the other would have an easier time forgetting this experience, so like keeping the younger one alive. I think that was it. And Blood and Cheese, because they're cruel fucks, make sure the kid that she chose understands that she chose him to die, and then they kill the other one.
Right. Okay. Wow,
And then
that's
she's
pretty
covered in
brutal.
blood, headless corpse, and she's just screaming. And I think, because I watched a video about the scene as it goes in the book, a lot of people found that to be quite disturbing in the book, and in the show, it's bad, but it's really, they didn't quite capture that the same way.
Well, the kids are asleep, and so I guess they're not really aware of what's going on until it happens, and then the camera cuts away as they might, because there's only so much you can really show to an audience like that.
Ryan Condell, I think, came out saying that legally speaking, there was limits on what they could do for adapting that scene. But I said this on the stream of covering it. I wouldn't need a single drop of blood to make that scene more disturbing, and I do think they missed out a bit on considering what they were adapting. But
no, I think so. Yeah. I think the way you've described it, like you could show their reactions before the actual killing takes place, and it's just like, knowing that your kid knows that you picked them, like, woof, that's a sledgehammer on any parent. I mean, in the book, is she kind of like a bit autistic or whatever, like she is in the show?
She is what they call a dreamer, which means her brain, like, it can go back and forth in terms of sensing events before and after they've happened and stuff.
Yeah,
and so she's a bit out of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm never quite sure how much she's actually processing things that are going on around her in the show. Blazestone says, "Hi panel, just want to shout out the webcomic Darths and Droids as something worth reading. Does the entire Star Wars live action in a TTRPG style and is both hilarious and moving. Even makes the sequels make sense. Yes, it is possible. Cheers and thanks." I didn't think that was possible to do that, but apparently they found a way. So there you go, Darths and Droids. So it's a webcomic. Various Crazy People says, "If Napoleon was in Star Wars, he'd be defeated by all the pronouns and clowned by the right for simping for Josephine." Yeah, that's true, yeah. Jay Smart says, "There's a lot of corporations who think their responsibility is influencing society for what is considered better instead of their actual responsibility, which is making money for shareholders." Yeah, I mean, and I could take that a step further and say, if you're an entertainment company, your real responsibility is to entertain your customers so that they keep buying your products. That'd be nice if they could do that a bit more.
Yeah, try that.
Jonathan Showalter says, "I love Final Fantasy X mostly for nostalgia." I didn't. I fucking can't stand Tidus as a character. "It was the first Final Fantasy that I ever beat. Never could beat 8 and watch my older brother beat 7. I was an early teen when playing 10, and the father-son conflict plus the love story really hit me in the feels." Well, you just try watching Aerith die when you're a 13-year-old kid. It is a tough fucking business. But yeah, 8 was a challenge. That's probably one of the hardest final battles I think I've done. That was about an hour and a half that took. Not because I kept dying, but more like just a successful playthrough of that final boss battle is about 90 minutes of fighting. And it's pretty exhausting towards the end. Sam Wallace says, "As far as the twins go in House of the Dragon, I also like that the show kind of acknowledges it's a stupid plan. Otto's reaction is perfect. You sent him alone?" So many of Otto's reactions are perfect in that episode.
Reese Fans is doing such a good job in that show.
He's just the perfect example of a smart, level-headed planner being confronted by absolute fucking stupidity.
Yeah.
But it's like people with immense power that just are not qualified to wield it at all. And just this constant exasperation with them. It's great. Video Williams says, "When people are actively making the time to hate your product, you're fucked as a company. No, drinker, that's when you realize it's your audience who are fucked and need to be punished. Hashtag Disney think." There you go. Yeah, they've got it right after all. Social Morlock. "Disney decision making. We've passed the point of no return. Do you know what that is? That's the point in a journey where it's longer to go back to the beginning than it is to continue to the end." That's a good Falling Down reference there as well. Nice one. I like it. Cannon Raw. "Good evening, Open Bar. Drinker, I was wondering if you know when your Rambo comic will be released. The publisher on Indiegogo hasn't provided any updates on the book's release." That's been out for ages. That's all shipped and everything, man. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. Like, that's long since come and gone. because I got sent like a couple of dozen copies for like distribution myself. It's all been shipped, so I'm not really sure why you haven't been sent yours, but that's an odd one. 6 Turning 4 Burning says, today's Hollywood don't know how military or warfare works. They never served, and they don't know anyone who served. We once had many World War II and Korea and Vietnam vets in Hollywood, but they're all gone. Yeah, those things are very much true, but that is why we're supposed to have military advisors for these shows, or at least, shows that have any kind of military aspect to them. Because there's plenty of vets out there, there's plenty of ex-officers and stuff who can at least give you the basics, of how officers should conduct themselves, how militaries make decisions, that sort of thing. They either don't care to use them or they're ignoring what these guys are saying. Either way, yeah. You get things like the First Order, which are just fucking retarded and they don't make any sense.
Yep.
Lord Vanadium says, Drinker, since you've established the open bar for 100 years now, why don't you revamp and update your membership system as well? Honor those who give you long-time support, and new fellowshippers will sail in. Yes, the membership thing was something that I kind of kicked off a while back with the goal of like doing more with it, and I suppose I've kind of neglected it a little bit just because I get caught up in the day-to-day running of the channel. But my plan is that we do more members and sort of Patreon backer streams that's just for you guys. So it's, as I do with the sort of Patreon guys, it's a chance for people to come on the stream, ask me questions, that sort of thing, and I can have a sort of rotation of people that come in and talk to me. So I just need to find the time to do it. But yeah, I agree, it's something that I need to devote more time to. Mark Schneider says, first time here, didn't realize that Snarky J had a seat at the table. I'll be back. That sounds like a threat. But yeah, Snarky J, that was her first appearance. Actually, I think it was also her first ever live stream of any kind. So I think she did really well. Zixel says, long-time lurker and first-time super chatter. I wanted to thank you, Drinker, Mauler, and Robot Head for inspiring me to make my own YouTube channel. Nice one, man, and best of luck with that. Teeny Bopper says, if I had a nickel for every YouTuber named Jay who hasn't seen Lord of the Rings, I'd have 2 nickels, which is a lot, but it's weird that it happens twice. It is, yeah, it's a bit of a curse of the Jays.
Terrible.
Has Jay actually seen it? No,
surely. Only Fellowship, which is worse, by the way, than not seeing any of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you think it was okay, or was it just like, fine, I guess. I don't really feel.
I don't want to make any claims, but I had a sense of like, you didn't think it was boring, did you?
Am I going to have to track you down and beat you up?
Bwom, bwom, bwom.
Patrick Mulligan. Dutch beats Matrix as long as he is downwind. That's a good point, actually. That's a nice little line from Commando. I think Matrix is still gone, even then. Jack Somerville. Have you guys noticed that the South Korean actor in The Acolyte is named after the capital city of South Korea? Seoul. So, oh my God. Who knows? Who knows where they got that name from? Sodlander. The MCU can be saved. It's just hard to do for current Disney. They won't do it. They need to clean house first. And that I certainly agree on. As for whether or not it can be saved, I don't know, man. I feel like that ship might have sailed. Nathan, incredibly late to the stream, but so excited to see Jay here. We literally just talked about Drinker on Open Bar on Tuesday during her Twitch stream, I believe. Recommended, by the way. It's a fun time. Nice. Jim Slater, I like your content. Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon at a glance seems like politics and torture porn. I've no interest in either. Would you still recommend it to me? So that's a tricky one. Probably not in that case, especially like the political maneuvering, the scheming, the plotting, all that stuff. It figures quite strongly in both of those shows. And if you've got no interest in that, I'm not really sure what you'd want to get from it.
Yeah, it's not a strict recommendation. It's not like The Office or something where you'd imagine most people will like it. It's you do. I know plenty of people who did not like The Office. You know what's funny about Game of Thrones? My mum hated it when she first watched a few episodes. She was like, "This disgusting show," blah blah. Second time around, she was watching it with my dad, and then she got hooked and wanted to watch the entire thing and loved it.
That's weird, eh?
Very weird. She had
Change the
both the
perspective.
opposite perspectives. I was just like, so what changed your mind? She was like, I don't know. I just started to learn the characters, I guess. It's like, yeah, it'll happen.
Maybe that's it. I mean, like, especially the fantasy setting, it might be a bit impenetrable for some people, but once those characters get to you, you're going to be invested to learn more, I suppose. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't, especially with House of the Dragon, I wouldn't really define that as torture porn. There's not as much of that as you got in Game of Thrones.
I don't think you and I would, but if you remember in, I think it's episode 1 of season 1, you see some arms, heads, and like a cock get chopped off. So I could totally see a person who's far more used to, let's say, like a Reacher TV show, going in something like House of Dragon, being like, "This is disgusting," and I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, fair enough."
Yeah, maybe that's the point, actually. Larry says, I agree that Trek could come back. Most people never even saw Discovery because you had to pay for Paramount Plus. On Netflix, it could thrive. I mean, would you want people to watch Discovery? I always thought it was garbage.
Are they saying that the fact that people didn't watch Discovery means that we've got space for people to get back into Star Trek if you made a good show?
I assumed that's what he was going for, but then he says on Netflix it could thrive. Unless he just means on Netflix, Star Trek in general could thrive, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Irrespective of Discovery, rather than like, oh, if we just ported Discovery over to Netflix, it would do great there. No, I think I get what you mean now. So, yeah, because all these crappy shows that they've made recently, like nobody's really watched them anyway, so we could just, you know, sweep them under the rug and then move on. Maybe. Next one. Larry says the coolest death scene is Tim Robbins in Team America World Police. I thought it might have been Samuel Jackson when he just gets the whole top of his head kicked off.
Yeah,
that's great. Sam Wallace. Scarface is a funny movie, but I love its ending. The whole movie is the setup to the boss battle that is Al Pacino. I take your bullets. What a unit. Yeah, he's like so cooked up, he just can't be killed. Pretty impressive. Until he can. Gene the Machine says, it would have been better if Smilo Ren was revealed to be Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Police Squad and he was there to make sure we won't catch any of them Jedi in America. I'd pay to see that.
Yep.
Pooty Evans. The same idiots that say, why does Kiadi Mundi's birthday matter also say, I can't believe you don't know about Frick.
That's so true. Bro, you call yourself a Star Wars fan and you don't know what Frick is.
Chris Robson says, random shower thought for the bar. If the showrunner and lead actress are saying that C-3PO and R2-D2 are gay/lesbian, are they saying that being gay is a programmable choice? Shrugs. Happy Thursday. That is a deep thought from the deep right there. I wasn't even aware that droids have gender. Because aren't they just robots? Like, they don't have a dick.
Well, so the way it works for something like a C-3PO is we just go by the voice, which is Anthony Daniels, which is a guy. So you just go that direction. But R2-D2, I think most people assumed R2-D2 was a guy. If there was such a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a trash can with wheels. I just never really assigned a gender to R2-D2.
He's a lesbian now.
Okay, sure. Works for me. Chris says, to salvage Star Wars, split the Old Republic away from Lucasfilm. Give it to a Korean animation studio. Don't let KK near it. I don't know, man. How about we just don't let KK near anything to do with Star Wars or Disney in general? God, there's so many questions about RLM's Acolyte video. That's from John Smith there. See previous statements. John Smith says, Inside Out, gigantic success, shows that there's no Disney boycott. So yeah, apparently Inside Out 2 is doing really well. Has it crossed 1 billion? I think it might have, you know. Let me just check. Which is impressive.
Is it good, or is it just because it's Inside Out?
No idea. I never gave a fuck about the first one. Don't give a fuck about this one. Just let it be its own thing, I suppose. Yeah, let's see. Box office. So... yeah, it's hit 1 billion. I assume it must be good then if it's created this much of a wave. In which case, all good. But yeah, I have no idea whether it is actually good or not. I've not got a huge amount of interest in watching it, so I guess I'll just let it be its own thing. Dogmatic Dane says, Walmart is now selling Grogu piñatas so that children at birthday parties can beat the little guy with a stick. Seems like cultural commentary to me. I would quite happily do that, actually. Yeah. Fucking Grogu. VJ the Vigilant says Beverly Hills Jedi. I want to see that. Mark Schneider. I'm a Gen Xer and I hate using the word cringe. Forgive me, but the haircut was exactly that. From the dramatic pause pre-cut to the waiting to exhale pose after, I just can't take the show seriously. I mean, to be fair, if that was your breaking point for taking the show seriously, like, you're a better man than me, man. Like, the first scene in the first episode broke me. But yeah, the whole haircut thing was just stupid. Paul Chevary says, there was a Hutt Jedi. I would unironically love to see a fat Sith who avoids lightsaber use at all costs, but is super powerful in the Force. Just like shooting lightning bolts from his eyes constantly or something.
Yeah.
Wyatt's Medal. Drinker, you don't realize how privileged you are to be able to support the oppressive Jedi. Sith lives matter. They do, yeah. It's all a matter of perspective and power and who wields it. Dave K says, Connery versus Hopkins. 1, best man speech. 2, pick your child from school. 3, drive you to the airport. 4, plumb in your dishwasher. And 5, help with your taxis. What? So who's the best in these scenarios? I mean, I'd probably pick Hopkins for all of them. Maybe Connery for the dishwasher thing. I think he's probably handier around the house.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Yeah. Jay Fraser, which gaming IP should be adapted to the style, quality, and substance of Arcane? For me, it would be Dishonored, Bioshock, Fable, and Batman Arkham Asylum. So, yeah, what would you like to see done to the same level as Arcane?
Dead Space and Bioshock, they're usually my answers. I really want to see them done properly.
Bioshock especially. Yeah. Glabthar the Destroyer. I absolutely love you guys and all the great work you do. I want to drop a little known PSA here for all cat lovers and owners. Lilies are deadly toxic to our little furry friends, so keep those cat killers out of your house. Well, there you go. The more you know. I did not know that. I also didn't know that grapes are toxic to dogs until relatively recently. And yeah, apparently they are. Of all things, grapes. Nathan A says, congrats on 100K, Jay. So cool to see you here. Thanks. Thank you. War Wizard. This is the ultimate question. Frick versus Schlurpo. Which one wins and why?
So Frick is a material that can survive a Death Star blast, while Schlurpo is the name of every currency, character, planet, area, and event in all of Star Wars. So as far as I'm concerned, Schlurpo just automatically wins. It cannot be defeated unless you destroy the entire universe. And at that point, you've destroyed Frick.
But if Schlurpo is the name of everything, then does it also encompass Frick?
I suppose it would have to. So, yeah, Frick just loses twice over there.
Wow. There you go. Dave Long says, off topic, but what is your favourite Scotch drinker? Campbelltown, Highland, Isla, Lowland, or Speyside? So, as a general rule, probably more like Speyside. Softer, and it's not got that... not got too much smokiness to it. I don't like overly smoky whiskies, so Speyside would generally be my area of choice. Philip O says, never forget, Jay Snow was res just to do fuck all. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter the other day, actually. It's like, it's been 8 years since this guy was brought back from the dead to do absolutely nothing. What a waste. That's the fucking explanation the showrunners gave as well. Oh, it'd be too obvious for John to be the hero.
Clearly.
Yeah. Jailer Krend. So this is all one gigantic word. I don't know why I didn't put spaces in, but let me try it. Cortosis was a thing in Knights of the Old Republic. They don't understand how it works. It's like carbon fibers woven into the Durasteel. Lots of swords on saber action in that game. Congrats on 100. Favorite actor? Favorite actor's Kurt Russell. God damn it.
Is it alive or dead? Like, well,
anything.
Anything. I think my answer would be the same anyway. You already know.
Yeah. We know.
Everyone already knows. But to be fair, there's competition here and there. You know, I'm trying to think of like some of my all-time favorites as well. It's just actors who, no matter what, they pull in really great performances. But then I suppose it gets like variable by actors who can pull in all kinds of performances. But yeah, it's probably the Hopkinator for me.
Jay Fraser says, Drinker, what are your thoughts on Inverness, and would it be an ideal location for a Scottish FNT Fellowship meetup? If not, what's your ideas? So, yeah, I'm fine with Inverness. It's a nice enough part of the country that it's in. You get to go through some amazing scenery to get there. It's not a great place for me to meet up because it's really far from where I live. So, in a slightly more selfish vein, Edinburgh would probably be a better place for me. Lots of bars there as well, which is always good. And Honeylock says, you knew about Cortosis before Daddy Disney needed you to. I think what he's saying is like you knew about Cortosis before Daddy Disney needed you to.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that'll be like.
Good. Well, let's put it this way: if Drinker and I were obsessed with one of the games that came out and it became quote unquote legacy or what's called Legends, and this game did everything to do with Cortosis and involved it really well, I would still have maintained that this is not how you introduce an element like this into live action shit. You need to make this clear to people who've never played that game that we played or read that entry in that book, you know?
It's almost like that, when Luke did Force Projection in TLJ and people were like, what the fuck's this? And then like Ryan Johnson managed to dig up some obscure like lore book where it mentions it in one paragraph as a thing that some Jedi were doing once. And it's like, there's no fucking way he looked that up in advance, like to do this script. He just happened to find this thing and stumble across it and be like, oh, cool, that supports me. Away you go. Again.
Oh yeah, I can assume he made clear to a bunch of people this is what he wanted to do. And he said, is there any, like, it doesn't matter, but is there anything in lore that could justify me doing that? And then some guy was like, yeah, I think there is something actually.
Yeah. And then JJ said, I want to do force teleportation in Rise of Skywalker. And everyone was like, no, that's fucking stupid. That doesn't even exist. Well, I'm doing it anyway.
To Marvel, by the way. But let's say you have like the most tightest lore ever. And then one person says, I want to do this thing that kind of breaks this. It's like, oh, yeah, it's all right. Like, come on. It's just one little break. It's fine. Do that 1,000 times. And then no one cares. It's just like, fuck it, whatever. Just do it. And it feels to me that Star Wars is definitely at that point, and Marvel is too, with power scaling. It's just like, I don't know, force, flim flam, weem wham, and it does that. Shut up.
Yeah, it becomes like the sonic screwdriver in Doctor Who. It can just do anything.
Yeah.
Whenever you need the script to do something for you. Either way, though, that is the last of the Super Chats. So we made it to the end.
Beautiful.
So I want to say, as always, thank you, everyone, for joining us for this, and thanks for sending us all these awesome Super Chats. It was a pleasure to go through them. I think we actually got some great conversations, and we truly learned the power of Schlurpo and vials of congealed Jedi liposuction fat that you can drink in battles to get more powerful. But the next time you see us will probably be on Open Bar 102. So join us on Thursday when we'll be doing that and talking about the next wonderful episode of The Acolyte, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But for now, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.